Here's something most people don't realize about memory. By the time you notice you're forgetting names or losing your train of thought mid-sentence, that pattern has often been building quietly for years. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's actually good news because it means there's a window, right now, where small daily choices can change the trajectory. For a long time, memory decline got lumped in with just getting older, like it's something that happens to you, no say in the matter. But that's not the full picture. Yes, aging changes the brain, that's real, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But how your brain ages, how sharp you stay, how easily you recall a name or a memory from last week, that part is influenced heavily by what you eat, how you move, how you sleep. Food in particular plays a bigger role in brain health than most people ever get told. So today we're talking about 5 foods that the research on brain health keeps coming back to again and again when it comes to memory and mental clarity as we age. Not miracle foods, not a magic pill, just real ordinary things you can start adding to your plate this week that give your brain what it actually needs to function well. And I'll tell you right now, the food at the very end of this list surprises almost everyone. It's not what you'd expect, and once you understand why it matters, you'll probably wonder why nobody told you sooner. So stick around for that one. Before we get into the list, I want to say something important, and I mean this genuinely. If you're watching this because you've been a little worried about your memory lately, misplacing your keys more, blanking on a word that used to come easy, you are not alone, and this is not a sign that something is wrong with you. Memory is trainable. It responds to input, just like your muscles respond to movement. So let's give it good input. One more thing before we dive in. I'd love to know. Drop a comment and tell me, does this topic hit close to home for you? Have you noticed changes in your memory over the last few years? Or are you here because you're being proactive and want to stay sharp for the long haul? I read every comment, and honestly, hearing your experiences shapes what I make next. So take 30 seconds, say hi, tell me where you're at. Okay, let's get into it. We're counting down 5 foods, starting with a solid, reliable one and building up to the one that, when I first learned about it, genuinely changed how I think about eating for brain health. Here's the thing to keep in mind as we go through this list. None of these foods work like a light switch. Your brain isn't going to flip from foggy to sharp overnight because you ate a handful of walnuts. What we're talking about here is cumulative, small, consistent inputs that over weeks and months support the systems your brain relies on to encode memories, retrieve them, and keep the whole network running efficiently. Think of it less like a quick fix and more like maintenance, the kind of maintenance that pays off quietly in the background until one day you realize you're remembering things more easily than you were a year ago. Research into brain aging has increasingly focused on inflammation and blood flow as 2 of the biggest factors in how well memory holds up over time. Nutrition scientists generally agree that diets rich in certain nutrients, antioxidants, healthy fats, specific vitamins, correlate with better cognitive outcomes later in life. That's the thread that connects everything on this list. Each of these 5 foods hits one or more of those mechanisms in a different way. So let's start the countdown. Number 5 on our list, and don't let its simplicity fool you, is going to be a food a lot of you already have in your kitchen right now. Number 5, leafy greens. Spinach, kale, collard greens, the ones your grandmother probably told you to eat, and honestly, she was onto something. Here's the mechanism in plain terms. Leafy greens are dense with compounds like vitamin K, folate, and lutein. And lutein in particular has become a real focus in brain research because it's one of the few nutrients that actually accumulates in brain tissue, not just in the eyes where we usually associate it. Think of these compounds as protective packing material for your neurons, reducing the wear and tear that builds up over years of normal metabolic activity in the brain. Research suggests that people who eat a serving of leafy greens most days tend to show slower rates of cognitive decline compared to those who rarely eat them. Nutrition scientists generally point to this one as one of the more consistent findings in the whole field of diet and brain aging. It's not flashy, but it's dependable. The practical application here is refreshingly simple. Aim for a serving of leafy greens most days. That could be a handful of spinach wilted into eggs, kale blended into a smoothie so you don't even taste it, or a simple side salad with dinner. You don't need a perfect diet overhaul. You need consistency. Number 4, berries. Blueberries especially get a lot of attention here, but strawberries and blackberries carry similar benefits. The mechanism worth understanding is that berries are packed with antioxidants called flavonoids, which help calm inflammation in the brain. And inflammation, over time, is one of the quiet culprits behind the kind of brain fog and memory slippage a lot of people chalk up to just getting older. Picture inflammation like static on a phone line. The signal's still there, but it's harder to hear clearly. Flavonoids help clear that static. Studies have found associations between regular berry consumption and better performance on memory tasks, particularly in older adults. It's one of the more encouraging areas of nutrition research because the effect size, while modest, shows up fairly consistently across different study populations. Practically speaking, this one's easy to love. A half cup to a cup of berries a few times a week, fresh or frozen. Frozen is just as good nutritionally, so don't feel like you need the expensive, fresh ones out of season. Toss them on oatmeal, blend them into a smoothie, or just eat a handful as a snack. Number 3, and this is where things start to matter even more. Fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, trout. The mechanism here is about omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA, which happens to be one of the primary structural building blocks of brain cell membranes. Your brain is, by dry weight, a remarkably fatty organ, and the quality of the fat you consume genuinely shapes the quality of the material your brain is built from. It's like the difference between building a house with warped lumber versus solid, well-cured wood. Same basic structure, very different long-term integrity. Research on omega-3 intake and cognitive health has been building for decades now, and nutrition scientists generally agree that populations with higher fatty fish consumption tend to show better markers of brain health as they age, better blood flow, less inflammation, and in some studies, better performance on memory and processing speed tasks. Now, I know fish isn't for everyone. Maybe you don't love the taste, or it's not always accessible. A realistic target is 2 servings a week if you can manage it. If fish truly isn't your thing, a conversation with your doctor about a quality omega-3 supplement is a reasonable alternative, but food first when you can. Now, here's something worth sitting with for a second. Notice how none of these 3 foods are exotic or expensive. Leafy greens, berries, fish, these are things available in pretty much any grocery store in any budget range. This isn't about buying rare superfoods shipped from the other side of the world. It's about being intentional with what's already sitting on the shelves near you. We've got 2 more to go, and I promise you, the next one is going to change how you think about a food you probably eat all the time without realizing what it's doing for you. And the final one, the one I teased at the start, it's coming, and it's genuinely one of the most underrated tools for memory that almost nobody talks about. Number 2. Walnuts. And specifically, walnuts deserve their own spotlight here, separate from the general nuts are healthy conversation you've probably heard before. Here's the mechanism that makes them stand out. Walnuts contain a particular type of plant-based omega-3 called ALA, along with polyphenols that cross into brain tissue and help combat oxidative stress. And there's something almost poetic about it. Walnuts, if you've ever looked closely at one, actually resemble the folded structure of a brain. That's not why they work, obviously, that's just a fun coincidence nature handed us. But the actual mechanism is serious. Oxidative stress is essentially cellular wear and tear caused by unstable molecules bouncing around your system, damaging cell structures over time, including in the brain. Walnuts help neutralize some of that damage before it accumulates. Research suggests that regular walnut consumption is associated with better cognitive test scores in older adults, and some studies have found this connection to be stronger for walnuts specifically compared to other tree nuts, though nutrition scientists are still working out exactly why that is. The practical application is genuinely one of the easiest on this whole list. A small handful, roughly an ounce, a few times a week. Toss them on a salad, eat them as an afternoon snack instead of something processed, stir them into oatmeal. No prep required, no recipe needed. Okay, now we're at number 1, And I want to be honest with you, when I first came across the research on this one, it caught me off guard because it's not a food most people think of when they think brain health. There's no flashy marketing behind it, no supplement industry pushing it hard. It's just quietly, consistently effective. And most people are either eating far too little of it or skipping it almost entirely. Here's a clue to get you thinking. It's not something you'd necessarily eat on its own. It's more of a supporting player in a lot of meals, something you might already have in your pantry right now without realizing what it's capable of. The mechanism behind why it matters ties back to something we touched on earlier in this video: inflammation, and specifically how this particular food interacts with a pathway in the body that most people have never even heard of. I'm not going to rush this one. It deserves real explanation, not just a quick mention, because understanding why it works is what's going to make you actually remember to use it. Actually remember. No pun intended, but also kind of intended. So, here's what we're going to do. In the final part of this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what this food is, why the research around it has generated so much interest in the brain health world lately, and, maybe most importantly, how to actually incorporate it into your daily routine in a way that's simple and realistic, not some complicated regimen you'll abandon in a week. Because here's the truth about all 5 of these foods, and I want you to really hear this. None of them work if they stay a one-time thing. The people who see real differences in their memory and mental clarity over the months and years ahead are the ones who make these small choices boring, ordinary, repeatable parts of their week. Not a diet, not a phase, just how they eat now. So, let's finish this. Let's get to the food that ties this whole video together. Number 1, turmeric. Specifically the compound in turmeric called curcumin. And here's why it earns the top spot on this list. We talked earlier about inflammation being one of the quiet drivers behind memory decline, that static on the line idea. Curcumin has become one of the most studied natural compounds for its anti-inflammatory action in the body. And increasingly, researchers have turned their attention to how that action plays out specifically in the brain. Here's the mechanism, and I promise this is worth understanding, not just memorizing. There's a protein in the brain called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and think of it almost like fertilizer for your brain cells. It supports the growth of new neural connections and helps existing ones stay healthy and communicate efficiently with each other. Research has found that curcumin may help support healthy levels of BDNF, which is part of why nutrition scientists and neuroscience researchers alike have gotten genuinely excited about it over the last decade. Some studies have also found associations between regular curcumin intake and improvements in mood and memory performance in older adults, though researchers are still working to fully understand the mechanisms and the ideal way to consume it, since curcumin on its own is actually poorly absorbed by the body. And that's the practical trick most people don't know. Curcumin absorbs dramatically better when paired with black pepper, which contains a compound that helps your body actually use it, and it also absorbs better with a bit of fat, like olive oil. So the realistic, doable version of this looks like a curry made with turmeric, black pepper, and cooked in olive oil, or turmeric stirred into a warm drink with a pinch of black pepper and a splash of milk. It's not about swallowing turmeric powder off a spoon, it's about cooking with it the way cultures that have used it for centuries traditionally have, which, it turns out, was smart all along. So there you have it, 5 foods: leafy greens, berries, fatty fish, walnuts, and turmeric, each one working on your brain through a slightly different pathway, but all pointing toward the same truth. Your plate is one of the most powerful tools you have for protecting your memory as you age. But I want to leave you with something bigger than just a grocery list, because this was never really about food. It's about what a sharp, clear mind actually gives you. It's being able to follow your grandchild's story without losing the thread halfway through. It's walking into a room and remembering exactly why you went in there and laughing about it instead of worrying about it. It's staying independent, staying present, staying fully yourself for as many years as possible. That's what's actually at stake here.
And the beautiful part is you have more influence over that than you've probably been told. Now, I want to be genuine with you for a moment. Everything in this video is general information, not personal medical advice. Your body, your history, your medications, those are all things only your doctor knows the full picture of. So before making real changes, especially if you're managing a health condition or taking medication, have a conversation with your doctor. This video is here to inform you and hand you a starting point, not to replace that relationship. Now, if this video gave you even one thing you're going to try this week, that's a win, and that's exactly why I make these. So here's what I'd ask. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, because there's a lot more where this came from. Share this with someone in your life who could use it, a parent, a sibling, a friend who's been a little worried about their memory lately. And down in the comments, tell me, which of these 5 are you already eating, and which one are you going to start with? Take care of that brain of yours. It's carried you this far. Let's help it carry you a whole lot further.